let's go to the court docs. What we're here for. Shout out to Black Anonymous for sending this over to me. I appreciate you. As you all can see, this is hold on, let me I don't want to be too much. But you all let me know if you all can see this here. This is a case that was filed against Umar going back to, is that 2018? Let me make sure I have my 2017. Going back to 2017 from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of State before the State Board of Psychology. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Bureau of Professional Occupational Affairs versus Umar Johnson. Respondent. And you see the file number here, 14-63-00878. And the docket number here, 1437-63-17. Statement of the case. This matter was initiated by filing of a one-count order to show cause on August 4, 2017, alleging that Umar Johnson had violated Act 48 of 1993, Act of July 2nd, 1993, PL 345, number 48, 63 PS Statute 2201-2207, and as amended, and or the Professional Psychologist Practice Act, and then they have more statutes here, etc. And you see there, and that for an indeterminate period up to and including the date the OSC was issued, respondent had been practicing psychology or holding himself out by use of the terms psychological, psychologist, or psychology without being licensed to do so. Y'all see this here? Without being licensed to do so. We just heard Ash Vault, Cash Ash, whatever his name is, the Vault, referred to Umar as a certified psychologist. We saw that. And I put up the words because I want you all to see, even in the year of our Lord 2025, he is still allowing people to call him a certified psychologist. Here you go, right here. That's why I have the captions on, so you all can see this. Certified psychologist. And by this document, he should not be doing that. Going back to 2017. Y'all, that's 8 years ago. 8 years ago. Shout out to Black Anonymous. I appreciate it. Jay the Informant. Do you have a hey Jay, how you doing? There's a Jay Wiz in here. Jay the Informant. The Daniel interview was as well. Yeah, another softball interview. It was irritating. It's like, can they not just ask real questions? Let's see here. Why Delaware hasn't condemned them buildings, I don't know. Me either. But they need to. They need to go ahead and get whatever they can get out of them as far as profit or revenue, and they need to have them bulldozed. Period. He still got the uniforms from the previous school hanging up in the damn gym closet. It's so crazy. He probably hands them his fake resume. Exactly. Cooking and kicking back, tuning in. All right, cool beans. And if I could get a mod to drop the YouTube channel for Jay the Informant in the chat, you guys, make sure you go check out Jay the Informant. Shout out to Brother Malik. That's in here. Shout out to my moms, Jeff and Laura. Thank you all so much. And Saint for tuning in. Caleb coming in from the live I did earlier on Candace. Miss Understood, No School, the Bandit Builders. I know, right? What's going on, Mojo? How you doing? Mojo, what's going on? I appreciate all of you all for tuning in. I just want to make sure I give everybody that do just shout outs here. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. All right, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all can see here. He should not be calling himself certified. He's not licensed. He's not licensed now either. He does not have an active certification. So why is anyone referring to him as a certified psychologist in the year of our Lord 2025? I don't know. Acting pro se, respondent filed an answer to the OSC on August 29, 2017 by order dated October 11th, 2017. The board delegated the matter to a hearing examiner who issued a notice of hearing on December 7, 2017, setting a hearing to be held on January 8, 2018. The Commonwealth appeared at the hearing and presented evidence in the form of certain paper exhibits and internet videotapes in which respondent held himself out by use of the regulated terms. Respondent appeared at the hearing pro se, presenting witnesses and testimony on his own behalf. April 18, 2018, HE issued a proposed adjudication and order in which she found that respondent had not committed any violations charged in the OSC. This brief is filed pursuant to 1 Pennsylvania Code Statute 35.211 to request the board to reject the PAO and issue an adjudication in order sustaining the charges of the OSC. Proposed findings of fact. Respondent has never held a license to practice as a psychologist in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. OSC answer is next to that. Respondent received notice of the OSC and the charges against him. Respondent holds an educational specialist 2 school psychologist certification. And this is at the time in 2017. Okay. So he held an educational specialist 2, school psychologist cert, and an admin 1 principal cert from the Pennsylvania Department of Education, not the Board of Psychology. And that was an exhibit C10 at various times up to and including the date of the hearing of this case. Respondent held himself out to be to the public by use of the regulated term psychological in a speaking engagement request. He still says it. How many times have we heard him say the most requested psychologist, the most intellectual, psychological thinker? We just saw evidence in this video. This clown calling him a certified psychologist, and he did not correct him. He's still doing it. And we know he does not have a certification or a license from any board in any state in the United States of America. And you all see that here. 5 days ago, he's still being referred to as a certified psychologist. That's not a mistake. Y'all see that? That's insanity. So, from the speaking engagement request form that he used to advertise himself as providing African American psychological and educational services for children and families. And those are exhibits. Hopefully they're attached in this and I can show it. On July 18, 2016, while a guest, this is going back to 2016, my bad. While a guest on a nationally syndicated radio show, The Breakfast Club on Power 105.1 FM in New York, which is an absolute joke, respondent held himself out to listeners as providing psychological services in the form of therapy. Exhibit C7, minute 115. So that's obviously a video with a timestamp. During his July 18, 2016 appearance on Breakfast Club, respondent described the initial patient intake process that he employs in his practice. Y'all see that here? You got to pay attention to the terminology that's being used here. That is described to the average reasonable person as what would be affiliated or associated with an actual licensed certified physician or doctor, including a clinical interview, family depression history, personal depression history, and suicidality assessment. Exhibit C7, minute 118 through 125. So that must have been, was it 1 hour 18-minute mark and 1 hour 25-minute mark? That's a video. It's another video exhibit. I just want y'all to see here how this is still going on. This is still going on. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. He said he has not stopped allowing people to refer to him as a certified psychologist. And you would think that Inside the Vote commentator, that Ash Cash, would have looked at this information and said, hey, The email me the link, Jen. Please email me that link. But you would think he would take the time to verify that, look at the information, and say, "Hey, before I say you are, certified, I need to see your credentials, because if you're not, I can't say you're certified on my show. I don't need to be caught up in some nonsense. You either show me you're certified, or we're just not even gonna say it." I mean, what's wrong with him just saying I got a degree in psychology? That's it. The education does not automatically mean you're licensed or certified. Those are two extra different steps to take towards practicing medicine or practicing psychology. I can go to medical school all day, but just because I graduate with a medical degree does not mean that I'm licensed to practice medicine. That's a totally different step. It's like no one understands. His cult members don't understand that when you're talking about psychology. No, it's the same thing. Someone goes to dental school, just because they graduate with a degree in dentistry doesn't mean that they should be pulling your teeth out. You want someone to know what they're doing. You still have to get a license. During his July 18, 2016 appearance on the BC, I'm just going to say the BC, respondent informed his audience that his therapy helps people address their current everyday problems. And this exhibit C7. On an unspecified date in or around December 2015, respondent appeared as a special guest on the radio show Stand Up Now on Gospel 1440 AM in Detroit. During his Stand Up Now interview, respondent held himself out as having a private practice in the Commonwealth, stating that he is a certified school psychologist and certified school principal. How are you a certified school principal? Why do you need to be a certified school principal? I don't know any school principal that needs a certification to be a school principal. That's a job title. What? Who the hell needs a certification in being a principal of a school? Who needs a certification in that? So you can get a degree, but that does not automatically mean that you get the licensure. You got to actually take some tests and get a license as a separate measure. Those things don't work hand in hand. It doesn't work hand in hand for psychology or medicine or dentistry or psychiatry. That's not something that works hand in hand. And it's like, it baffles, it boggles my mind why you have this grown man calling him a certified psychologist, knowing damn well he can't find a certification on file anywhere. And yes, that would still be something that the state of Pennsylvania would look into further, because he has his degree from a school in Pennsylvania, but he does not have a license or a certification. You can't make this stuff up. I'm still wondering, why do you need a certification to be a school principal? Who the hell needs to be certified to do that? I'm in private practice here in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I evaluate children for special ed disability determinations. I work with charter schools, public schools, superintendents, principals, but yet he is certified school principal. Can't make this shit up. He worked with principals and he's a certified school principal. God. And special ed attorney advocate groups. Exhibit C6, and then of course they give the timestamp on that. On or about June 30th, 2017, respondent appeared on the BC radio show, during which appearance he described himself by use of the regulated term psychologist rather than as a school psychologist, because there would be a difference. Respondent made videotapes of his July 18, 2016 and June 30th, 2017 appearances on the BC available for consumers to view as a link on his website, drumarjohnson.com. And then that's an exhibit as well. Because respondent, there's a footnote here. Because respondent accurately described himself as a certified school psychologist, this evidence is not offered as proof of respondent's unlawful use of a regulated term. Rather, it is offered as an admission by respondent that he conducts a private practice within the Commonwealth. So that's the unlawful part. When did you get a private practice? If you are a certified school psychologist, you would not have a private practice. You would be working in a school. You have to have a certification and license to have a private practice. You understand? Like saying I'm a certified school, at the time he was certified to be a school psychologist. Basically, he's using his education to work in a school, just to work with the kids for certain grade levels. And even then, he could not give diagnosis. He can't write prescriptions because he's not a MD. Even if you're a psychologist, you can't write prescriptions. You got to be a psychiatrist. You have to actually be a licensed physician to do that and to diagnose. So he couldn't do any of that. So why have a private practice? This idiot is still saying that he's a certified. What's going on, Black Anonymous? Thank you. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. I get one of the monster drop Black Anonymous's channel link in the chat, or Black Anonymous, your mod, you can drop your channel link in the chat. That would be awesome, as well as your website as well. You can feel free to drop it in there so everybody can go check you out. But I work with a woman who graduated with a physical therapy degree, but she was working in an office because she couldn't pass the test. Exactly. You know, more than likely, you don't see someone that is a certified school psychologist with a private practice. No, you're working in a school. And then he doesn't have a licensure to even do anything beyond that. He's not licensed at all. He has no licensure. He never did have a license. That's the problem. He's never had a license. You're absolutely right, Cecilia. He's never had a license. He only had a certification. Those are two different things, because it depends on what you're trying to do. Two different things. And in two different routes you have to take to get a license versus a certification. Two different concepts here. Yeah, he wasn't working with a school, allegedly. He could work privately, but he had a private practice. He couldn't have no private practice. He could work privately. He could do like consult work. Yeah. But he has to be able to still do the work in the school. But he said he had a private practice. That's totally different. So shout out to Black Anonymous. Everybody say hello. What bothers me is this interview he just did. And I'm seeing this here. Certified psychologist. Still. From an interview 5 days ago. Because people don't read and vet information anymore. They just, let him hype this stuff up. And guess what? This could be used as evidence against him. And I put some blame on this guy because he should have inquired about this. It says you're a certified psychologist. If he did a little research, like I had to do. Let's say he's still somewhat new to Umar. I'm still learning a lot of, things about Umar as far as like his connections to other people and all these other things. But I even know I'm not going to call anybody licensed or certified if I can't see that for myself, because that's the first thing I'm going to Google my own. I'm going to research that on my own. And I'm seeing this man doing interviews where he's still calling him a certified psychologist in 2025. That's what's annoying me. And it's dangerous because it's misleading to the public. It's deceptive. And it's unlawful. It's false. He's not certified. So, summary of position. I'm sorry, did I finish this up here? Respondent exponentially increased his exposure of his private psychology practice to consumers of psychological services in the Commonwealth Summary of position. Finding the evidence clear that respondent has used terms regulated by the Psychology Act, the PAO properly concludes that the respondent that responded without a license has used the regulated terms as charged in the OSC. Nonetheless, it proposes dismissal of the OSC based on a finding that respondent is employed as a school psychologist and may claim the Act's exemptions for certified school psychologists to privately practice under the same terms and conditions as their concurrent employment by a school. So he has to work in the school. Dismissal of the OSC is not justified by those exceptions because on their face, they do not apply to the use of the regulated terms by a school psychologist. They apply only to his ability to conduct a private practice. In addition, the PAO effectively placed a burden on the Commonwealth to prove that respondent has not been employed as a certified school psychologist because he hadn't. And he still isn't. The Commonwealth respectfully submits that the PAO is in error because the specific burden was respondents to carry, and he failed to carry it due to the fact that he did not produce any contract or other writing to prove the requisite employment, as well as the fact he was not a credible witness. Umar was not even a credible witness. Because he gave testimony on his own behalf. He was pro se, y'all. Umar, you're an idiot. Good God. See, Umar, you don't know the law and you don't know how court works or administrative hearings, because there's a difference. There's a difference between administrative hearings and judicial hearings. You all know the difference. I know the Luxes have to know. What's the difference between administrative hearings and judicial hearings? One big main difference. Throw it in the chat if you know the difference. Umar doesn't know. He does not know the difference, and that's what gets him. He doesn't care to know either. Okay, he doesn't care to know. I got a couple blogs that I'm gonna pull up from Black Anonymous. Umar does not care to know the difference, but there's a big difference. And the worst part is, oh God, social worker can also provide psychological services with a master's in social work and a LCWS. That's in certain states, not all of them. Correct. Umar only goes on podcasts that will not challenge or question him. Exactly. Because this guy didn't say anything. Y'all, in 2025, Umar is still being referred to as a certified psychologist. Never mind all these court documents. Never mind any of these documents where he literally said he was not a credible witness. He failed to carry. It was the burden of the respondent to carry. Y'all see this? That specific burden was respondents to carry. That's Umar Johnson, who was pro se. He didn't have an attorney. And he failed to carry it due to the fact that he did not produce any contract or other writing to prove the requisite employment, meaning he had no evidence of documentation whatsoever because the concept of such is still a foreign concept to him. He has no idea what documentation means because he's an idiot, as well as the fact that he was not a credible witness. Umar, they deemed you to be non-credible back in 2017. The entire state of Pennsylvania said you're not credible. In 2016, actually. And then on top of that, you get hit with a cease and desist order. They told you to kick rocks and get the hell on. The entire state of Pennsylvania told you to go away. And you failed to listen. And as opposed to you understanding and learning from your dumbass mistakes, You're still allowing someone to introduce you as a certified psychologist to the public on a public social media platform. He may not have a whole lot of followers, but look how many people watched this video. Look how many people watched this video. 92,000 views in 5 days. Certified psychologist just sitting there. He may have only 16,800 subs, but 92,000 people have watched this video in the past 5 days. And he is allowing this clown to introduce him as a certified psychologist. And I say that he's a clown because he refused to Google it. That is a burden you bear when you have a platform and you allow someone to come on your platform and they want to say that they got these credentials and XYZ, you better look it up. You best believe I look all of my guests up. If they have credentials, I'm looking you up. You're not going to come on my platform and lie like hell. You're not going to be a disservice to my platform. You're not going to do it. You can't make this stuff up. They say he's not even a credible witness. All right, here's the grounds for exceptions. PAO's finding of Fact 6 is not supported by the record. There is insufficient evidence to support a finding under paragraphs 410 and 10.1 of Section 3 of the Act. The respondent was employed as a school psychologist by Mathematics, Civics, and Sciences Charter School, MCS, from 2011 to 2018. Good grief. There is insufficient evidence to support a finding that he was employed as an MCS by a psychologist, as a school psychologist by MCS from 2011 to 2018 for 7 whole years. They could not prove that he was employed as a school psychologist. 7 years. When is the last time Umar had a damn job? When the last time he had a job? Hey, Manny, how you doing? I wanted to do that so I could retire. What's going on? Shout out to Manny. Manny, if you don't mind, can you please put the YouTube channel links for Black Anonymous and Jay the Informant Media in the chat? I would appreciate that. And I want to make sure, and Brother Malik's up in here. I want to make sure we get great content creators, those who've been out here reporting on this information on Umar. We do also have a $20 stream goal that's going to go towards the desk. Brother Malik, I'm so sorry. I still have not seen the cash that come through, and I just hate for it to be sitting out there. So I don't know what's happening with it, but I haven't seen it come across my cash app. So hopefully you can cancel it, and I don't know. But I don't want to just go to someone out of a scam or anything like that. I want to do things the right way. So hopefully you can cancel that if you can, because I don't know where it is. It's not hitting me. It's not hitting me. I promise you. And I want to shout out Black Anonymous for the $1 super. I appreciate it. I sure do. Let's see here. I'm gonna make sure. All right, let's get back to it, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Just so he's not really a psychologist. He has a degree, but he's not certified or licensed. So he can't do anything with that degree other than just say he has the degree. And I still question that because his dissertation was garbage. But no, he was purporting himself, just like here, for the new people coming in. He's still being called a certified psychologist. That is false. This video has been viewed by 92,000 people. This is what got him in trouble back in 2017 with the Board of Psychology in the state of Pennsylvania, or the Commonwealth, because he was calling himself licensed and certified, and he wasn't. So it was unlawful for him to use certain regulated terms, because to say that you're certified or licensed would require that you have a certification or a licensure. That's beyond just getting a degree. And he's still being, to this very day, this is 5 days ago, he was on Inside the Vote, being referred to as a certified psychologist. So I wanted to make sure we go over this court docs for the administrative hearing that was held by the Board of Psychology back in 2017 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania so that people can understand. He's never been licensed, and he was only certified at the time he worked in a school to be a school psychologist. And then he was only limited to certain things. So he goes on radio shows talking about he's got private practices and all this other stuff when he's supposed to be working in a school. So as y'all can see here, number 2, here it is. PAO incorrectly interpreted Section 3 of the Psychology Act as permitting a certified school psychologist to hold his private practice out to the public using the regulated terms. The PAO's conclusion of law 4 is not supported by the record. When the record lacks respondents' alleged employment contract with MCS Charter School, it cannot support a finding that such contract specific terms permit respondents' use of the regulated terms. In other words, even if you say that you're a certified school psychologist, if you're not even employed as a certified school psychologist and there's no proof of that employment, then you can't say that shit. Bottom line. You certainly can't say that you hold a private practice, because that's not what certified school psychologists do. They don't have a private practice. They work in a school. That's based on their regulations. That's just kind of everywhere for me. So, let's see here. Arguments in support of exceptions. The Commonwealth met its burden of proving that respondents' particular use of the regulated terms violated both the purpose and spirit of the Psychology Act. As the POA finds, the Commonwealth's evidence that respondent has held himself out both as a psychologist and as practicing psychology is clear. That respondent's speaking engagement request uses the term psychological to describe his services is clear, and they have the exhibit. That he makes no reference to his school psychology certification on that document is clear, meaning everything he said and done has been clear and there's no room for misinterpretation. He said that he was a psychologist. He said that he was practicing psychology. He used the term psychological. He's referencing school psychology certification on documents. That the argument they're saying is he didn't muddy the waters with this stuff. He came flat out and said it. Just like I'm looking at this damn video where it says here, certified psychologist. It's very clear here. Is anyone confused when he says certified psychologist Dr. Umar has dedicated? Are we confused at whom this bald-headed man is talking about? We all know if someone says they're a certified psychologist, we're not interpreting anything else beyond that. The average reasonable person would see this and assume that Umar Johnson is a certified psychologist based on what is being purported here. Does that make sense? When they say it's clear, it is very clear that the word certified psychologist is being used. So I wanted to use that as an example so y'all can understand this. Okay? Amen. 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 This clarity is only enhanced in the Commonwealth's remaining evidence. It is clear that at minute 115 in Exhibit C7, respondent tells a nationally syndicated radio show audience exactly what psychological methods and tools he employs when someone comes to me for therapy to address their current everyday problems. Exhibit C7, and that's his thing he did on the Breakfast Club. It is clear that at minute 32:52 in Exhibit C5, he tells that same show audience, I am a psychologist. Yeah, I mean, this is what he's still doing. Still doing this dumb shit. He's still doing it. It is clear that at minute 2 in Exhibit C6, respondent tells another radio show audience that he has a private practice in Pennsylvania. In short, respondents' public statements about himself leave no reason for readers or listeners to doubt. So, y'all see that? Just like I said, no reason for any reader or listener to doubt that they can visit the private practice of Dr. Johnson, the psychologist, and get psychological therapy because he said it. Because Umar is an idiot. Oh man, this is fun for me. Oh, let me sip on my juice right quick. Hold on. Oh, Umar, you're a dummy. And you're still doing this. The PAO astutely points out that the board does not want unlicensed individuals giving unsuspecting people the impression that they are qualified, competent, and licensed to practice psychology when in fact they are not. Bottom line, we don't want that anywhere across the United States of America. Umar, you can take that bullshit to Africa, the entire continent. Good luck to you. And if they find out you're a fake there, you're a scammer there, they're going to beat your ass. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. Yeah, check your cash app. Oh, hold on. Nice. I got it. I finally got it. Thank you, Brother Malik. Oh, yes. Hey, got good. Yeah, shout out to Brother Malik. Thank you so much. Shout out to Brother Malik for the $45 cash app. Yeah, we met the goal. Ayo, we met the goal. Thank you so much. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a blessing. So it's gonna add on to the desk fee, y'all. Hopefully, I'll be able to order it. If not tonight, tomorrow. I gotta make sure I have it all up, and I'm ready to order this new desk because I can't take it. It's small. All right, let's get back to it. Thank you so much, Brother Malik. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Y'all, this is stuff that's still going on. This is why we're going over this. So y'all can see how Umar is breaking many laws. What an idiot he is. In its videotape exhibits, the Commonwealth met its burden of proving Dr. Johnson does exactly that. The videotapes amply demonstrate that beyond advertising himself to the public as a psychologist in private practice, respondent leverages that claimed credential as a platform for his particular brand of psychological persuasion. In relevant part, the act defines the practice of psychology as the application of established principles of learning, motivation, perception, thinking, and emotional relationships to problems of group relations. This is 63 PS Statute 1202. Given that definition, the Commonwealth respectfully submits that respondent's practice of psychology is evident throughout his broadcast. His use of the regulated terms to cloak his personal views and agenda in a mantle of legitimacy is exactly the situation the PAO recognizes as the board's concern. Respondent is unquestionably an unlicensed individual, giving unsuspected people the impression that he is a qualified, competent, and licensed member of the profession whose reputation and benefit to consumers the Psychology Act was intended to protect. Umar Johnson lying about being a certified psychologist absolutely abuses the Psychology Act in its entirety, both in definition and in spirit. Can I get an amen? Woo! Yeah, I love reading these court docs. I do. I really do. There's so much good, juicy stuff in this stuff. But it helps you to understand why when I say he's an idiot that's breaking laws, here's how. You can't make this stuff up. Every state has some sort of act that is similarly designed and written to protect people from being misled and deceived, from people who want to go around purporting themselves to be a psychologist or certified psychologist when they're not. When they're not competent, licensed, credentialed, or educated, or smart, they don't even use common sense God gave a billy goat. And Umar is one of those who continue to rake black communities over the coals by taking their money and deceiving them and misleading them to believe that he's somebody special when he isn't. Umar, we have laughed at your dissertation from PCOM. What the hell makes you think we're to take you seriously as a psychologist? I don't take your degree seriously. You really think I will take anything you have to say seriously? No, I reacted to point out how ridiculous you are and to debunk your dumb lies. And I'm going to keep doing it. Umar, you can kiss my ass. You can't make this up. In his closing statement at the hearing, respondent called the Commonwealth case frivolous, the audacity, and stated that he expected a lot more evidence, because the evidence they have is sufficient, but for some reason, he just doesn't know how to read, of his unlicensed practice of psychology. You expect them to give you more evidence of your unlicensed practice of psychology? Fuck out of here. When the Commonwealth's case consisted of respondents' own words, it is interesting that he should label it frivolous. Yeah, it's laughable too. And when the Commonwealth's case consisted of those words in videotape form available to the whole world via the internet, meaning you all can watch all those interviews that he did on the radio show between the Breakfast Club and I think it was something 1440 AM. It's available to the internet. So it's not a hidden secret. Y'all can go watch those same videos, the exhibits that are videos, and you can hear it for yourself. So that's what they're saying here. It's available to the whole world via the internet. It is difficult to conceive of how much more evidence respondent might want. They're saying, you dumbass idiot, you want to challenge us to more evidence when you've got all the evidence out there that any person that has access to the internet can watch. Stop challenging us to give you more. You idiot. This is crazy. So just because he wants to deny that he, does not live in this reality here on earth with the rest of us, because we all know Umar's delusional, does not mean that they owe you more evidence, you buffoon. You keep doing it. You're still doing it in 2025, Umar. You're still calling yourself a certified psychologist, you buffoon. You keep doing it. And you didn't correct him when he said it. You didn't do it. Don't you think that this same complaint can be filed in another state? You don't even have a degree in any other state. So that would make it worse for you to go from state to state to state to state talking about, I'm a certified psychologist. You're not going to get away with it in another state because you don't even have a degree in another state in psychology. That's what makes this whole thing with him so dumb. So respondent had the burden of proving that his certification as a school psychologist enabled him to use the regulated terms as he did. He didn't meet that burden. But either way, let's read on. There are 14 enumerated exceptions in Section 3 of the Psychology Act to the Act's licensure requirements. This is 63 PS Statute 1203. 3 of them have potential applicability to this case. At Section 3, 63 PS Statute 1203 sub 4, the Act states that it does not limit the practice of psychology or use of an official title by certified school psychologists as long as such practice or title is part of the normal function of his position or the usual expectations of the school that employs him. If he can't prove he doesn't have a job at the damn school, then he shouldn't be saying it. At Section 310, the Act states that nothing in this Act shall be construed to prohibit a certified school psychologist from performing in private practice those acts which he is permitted to perform in the public and private schools of the Commonwealth. Does that make sense? To perform in the public and private schools of the Commonwealth. So, 63 PS Statute 1203 sub 10, paragraph 10 of Section 3 was effective until August 22nd, 2016, meaning Whatever job he had in the school, this was effective when he worked, when he had a job in the school. It was effective until this date, which probably indicates the date that he was the last date he was employed. On August 22nd, 2016, paragraph 10 was deleted and 10.1 added to narrow the applicability of this exception to only those school psychologists who had been, they amended this. I'm sorry. My bad. They amended paragraph 10 to 10.1. My bad. Okay. Let me correct that. Paragraph 10 was amended. So paragraph 10 was deleted and 10.1, which reflects an amendment, was added to narrow the applicability of this exception to only those school psychologists who had been certified by the Department of Education as educational specialists 1 or 2 and who were concurrently employed as a school psychologist in a school. So, of course, being employed in the school has to be one of the requirements as usual. They added on that you had to be certified by the Department of Education, which naturally, if you're going to work in a school, that will be who would certify you as an educational specialist 1 or 2. And this is based on 63 PS Statute 1203 10.1. In this proceeding, respondent rely on these provisions to justify his professional practices. In order to overcome the Commonwealth's clear evidence that he had used the regulated terms to advertise his private practice, it was respondent's burden to prove the existence of an employment relationship or contract between himself and a qualifying school. So either he was employed with the school or he was contracted with the school as a contractor or consultant. So either one, you full-time employed or you are contracted as a consultant. That's it. And a qualifying school at that. Can be any old school. Obviously, it was not and could not have been the Commonwealth's burden to disprove respondent's claim of being party to such an employment contract. They're saying it's not our job to disprove that burden. It's not for us to prove that you had this job or you were contracted to work at this school. That's not our job to do that. You can kick rocks. You can't make this stuff up. He's a certified toilet cleaner, y'all. Oh, shout out to my mod. A degree just means he has adequate completed coursework. It is the licensure that is key. Exactly. And it's a whole different route you got to take to get the license. You don't just go get a license because you got a degree. That's not how it works in any field like that. No. You can't go to medical school, get the medical degree, and then automatically think you're going to get a license. You got to study, take tests to get licensed. That's a totally different thing. And it comes from the board of medical physicians. That's a whole board of health, board of physicians. You got to go get that licensure from. Just like with the board of psychology. You got to get a licensure from the board of psychology. You can't just say you're licensed or certified because you have a degree. If Umar is not smart enough to understand that very simple concept that my 13-year-old can understand, then Umar needs to deem himself to be a dumbass and needs to read a book. You can't make this stuff up. This is just logic. It's like no one taught him this. What's going on, Tavares? I see you in there. How you doing? All right, let's get back to it, y'all. They said it's not our burden to disprove any of this. Such a burden would effectively have assigned the Commonwealth the insurmountable investigative task of conducting a census of every school in the state to find out whether a respondent ever worked there. Why would they need to do that when he could just prove that he worked at a specific school his damn self? See, Umar is lazy as hell. Just like with the city of Wilmington, he wanted them to complete some documents and paperwork for him to get a waiver regarding the vacant registration fees. No, they don't have to do that, you lazy bum. They don't have to do that documentation, that paperwork for you. All he had to do was fill out the documents and submit them on time. The same thing with the cease and desist order. The actual agency said flat out that he failed to follow the guidelines and or submit documentation and paperwork in order to continue to receive donations or contributions as a 501c3 in the state of or in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He failed to do that. He failed to submit documentation and paperwork to that governing body. Therefore, they issued a cease and desist against him. An order at that, which is enforceable in a court of law. It's not a letter. It's an order. And yet he went around having people think, oh, it's just a letter. It doesn't mean anything. No, it's an order. And you can be held in contempt against that order. And people need to be filing complaints to them to say he's been violating this damn order, just in case y'all wanted to know. Can y'all please file a petition for contempt? He's been violating the hell out of it. You know, he's still collecting money from people in Pennsylvania. There's no way he would ever get around it. Too many people are pissed off with him at this point. And you can't bully everybody on the internet, you clown. You done pissed off enough people that probably want their money back, that live in this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that are willing to report you to that governing body that issued that cease and desist order against you, to urge them to file a petition to the court for you to be held in contempt because you keep collecting money. It's like a tick. Every time he gets on video, he talks about hit the PayPal, hit the Cash App. No. And he never says, except anyone that lives in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He never says that. But effectively, that cease and desist order should be that exception, that limitation. Hit the Cash App, except all those who live in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Please don't send me any money. I'm not trying to violate that damn order. He knows better, but he doesn't care because he has no respect for the rule of law. And even in this case, he expected the board to actually prove that he worked at a school when he could have just supplied that evidence himself. That's what they mean by being his burden to meet, to show that he was either employed or at least contracted with the school. It's not their burden to do that. It was his. So he's still stupid, and we're moving on. As Exhibit C8 through Exhibit C through 8 and C9, and the testimony of senior prosecutor in charge Kenneth Suter demonstrated prior to the issuance of the OSC, the Commonwealth had no way of knowing what school respondent might claim as his employer, because respondent refused to answer the Commonwealth's multiple requests for that very piece of information. So they had been asking him for the evidence to show that he was employed. Who was your employer? What school are you employed with? Why would he not want to submit the information unless he's got something to hide? See, Umar, you're an idiot, and we all know it. But for some reason, you have a bunch of cult members running around here still thinking you're smart. They asked you to submit over information to show who your employer was, and you refused to answer the multiple requests for that very piece of information. The same way he refused to email back the city of Wilmington when it came down to the water bill, to the vacant registration, vacant property registration fees, any other taxes he owed, when they were emailing him back and forth up in April. And then the city employee had to come out and drop the emails as proof that they had been reaching out to him and contacting him because he was lying through his teeth like a 12-year-old child that they were not communicating with him. He lied his ass off, and people still believe him, like Father Baba Yaga, Baby Yoda, Father Moses, Father Christmas. I have many names for him. These people still believe him. As grown and old as they are, and knowing that hopefully they know how to read, they still believe him over documentation and evidence. Clown shit. Can't make this stuff up. So, by refusing to answer those requests, just like he did with the city of Wilmington, respondent essentially admitted that no such contract existed and thereby brought the hearing of this case upon himself. It is all your fault, Umar. Oh, I love it. Again, once the Commonwealth met its burden of proof, the burden shifted to respondent. Given his videos representations about his private practice, it was his burden to prove by a preponderance of evidence that his school psychologist certification enabled him to advertise that he is a psychologist who provides therapy for ordinary everyday problems in private practice in Philadelphia. This he failed to do because he failed to produce a written employment contract between himself and a Pennsylvania school setting forth the normal functions of his employment and the usual expectations of his employer. Respondent failed to carry his burden of proof because he's a lazy slacker slum that likes scrubbing 2-year-old Dookie out of toilets, but can't somehow produce documentation when needed. Because reasons. Respondent's burden under the licensure exception at Section 3.4 of the Act. At the hearing, respondent introduced his resume and testified that since 2011, he has been employed as a school psychologist by the MCS charter school. And then they have the exhibit for that. When asked if he had a written contract with MCS charter school, he answered, sure. It's a yes or no question, you idiot. Respondent's oral answer was not sufficient to carry his burden of proof without the written contract itself being introduced into evidence. That means, Umar, no one trusts what you say. You can't just say yes or no and expect the entire board to believe what you say. They're not your cult members. You have to provide documentation and evidence. No one has to trust anything that comes out of your mouth. And then you didn't even say yes or no. You said sure. You're an idiot. He does that to be distracted. He does that on purpose. Who does this? He claims to be so smart and intellectual, and yet when he's presented with a yes or no question, he gives a sure. That's your response, Umar? Sure. You know when you're being asked a yes or no question. This is why I want his ass deposed. Hopefully when the IRS or the FBI come kicking in a door or two and they go looking for his ass, they need to depose him. Because this is how he's going to be if he's under deposition under the penalty of perjury. You're going to answer sure. It's not an answer to the question. In a court of law, that would have been objected to, by the way, as not answered. Yep. To take advantage of the exception under Section 3.4 of the Psychology Act, respondent was required to prove that the terms of his employment contract allowed him to practice privately as part of his normal functions. However, even though the record was left open for 30 days to give him the opportunity to produce his MCS charter school contract, he never produced it because, of course not. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, Umar is such an alien. Y'all, you can't make this stuff up. Oh, my God. Baba Dada David. What is his name? Umar aliens. Come by. Aliens came by Baba David and destroyed the school. Baba David. Wow. That's exactly how he acts. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Aliens came and destroyed the school. Wow, Umar. Wow, I didn't even know that. You gotta be kidding me, buddy. I'm so sorry. Aliens came and destroyed the school. Oh, brother, we praying for you, brother. We got to get those aliens, my brother. We got to get them. I can't believe that. Wow, man. Ooh, tell us more. Y'all know, I done heard 2 videos of Father Baba Yaga, Father Moses, Father Christmas do interviews, and that's all I needed to hear to be able to nail his ass. Yeah, that's how you talk for real. Yeah, just like that. It sounds like two kids in high school gossiping about something. Like it's just crazy. All right, let's get back to it. Under Rule 1002 of the Pennsylvania Rules of Evidence, an original writing, recording, or photograph is required in order to prove its content unless these rules are the rules prescribed by the Supreme Court or a statute provides otherwise. Pennsylvania Rules of Evidence 1002. This rule, known as the best evidence rule, is well established in Pennsylvania law. When the contents of a document are an issue, when a document are an issue, the document itself is the primary evidence, and all other evidence is secondary. And secondary evidence of the contents of the document cannot be introduced into evidence unless the absence of the original has been accounted for. And then they cite case law here, Hagen v. Patton, 193, Pennsylvania Supreme Court, Superior Court, 186, 190, 164, and there's an amendment to D 33 and 35, 1960. Ooh, that's a 1960 case. That's an old case. Clearly, the contents of respondents' alleged contract with MCS Charter School is at issue for under Section 34 of the Act. It dictates the professional functions he can and cannot perform in private practice. Therefore, it must be in evidence in order for the board to know what respondents' normal functions with the school might be. So he would need to bring forth the contract and the list of duties or present the normal functions that he is to carry out with the school in order for that to be established. He didn't do it. And they're saying that this is the best evidence you could present to meet that rule. And you can't even present the evidence to meet the rule, Umar, because you're an idiot. Since it is not in evidence, God, the Commonwealth respectfully submits that the PAO erred in concluding that respondent was lawfully permitted to engage in the actions charged in the OSC by virtue of an alleged contract with the MCS Charter School. What was the PAO thinking? They made so many errors in interpretation of law and lack of evidence being submitted. It's not even funny. I don't even need an attorney to interpret this. I could represent myself and be able to come and do a better job this than he did. He couldn't even present the basics. B, respondents burden under the licensure exception at paragraphs 10 and 10.1 of Section 3 of the Act. To take advantage of the exception under paragraphs 10 and 10.1, under Section 3, respondents' private practice would have to be limited to these acts, those acts which he permitted to perform, which he is permitted to perform, in the public and private schools of the Commonwealth. 63 PS Statute 120310 and 10.1 on June 1, 2016. The Pennsylvania Department of Education published a document entitled Educational Specialist Code 1875, which provides a pertinent part as follows. A person employed in a position as a school psychologist is qualified to perform the following duties and functions. And here it is. So all he had to do, this is how simple it was for Umar, the most requested alleged intellectual scholar on earth, as he claims, who still can't read simple things and understand it, because Umar, you're a moron. Your job function, your normal functions from whatever school you were either contracted to work with or you were a permanent employee of, simply had to match this below. Right here. That's all you needed, Umar. You're an idiot. You couldn't even produce a contract that reflected your normal functions that matched the following duties and functions here according to the Educational Specialist Code 1875. It was that simple. That simple, Umar. But you think you know laws and you know how court works or administrative hearings work when you don't. That's why it wouldn't be hard for the FBI and the IRS to break his ass down like a fraction. This is why he also decided to settle when he filed that slap suit against Marianne Lorien, because Umar is stupid. He doesn't know how court works. He doesn't know laws. He doesn't understand the law at all. He's not that bright. It seems like he can't read and understand basic things. He's asked to provide evidence that he worked in a school. He couldn't do that. What made anyone think that he could actually sue someone for $500,000 and get their intellectual property is beyond me. Nah, hell no, that would not have worked anymore. Try to tell you, you're not this smart. This is something else. This is priceless. So here are the duties: improve academic achievement by conducting psychological and academic assessments that inform interventions which improve student outcomes. Promote and facilitate effective management of student and classroom behavior. Assist school teams in monitoring student progress through the collection and interpretation of student and classroom data, something he was not able to do for his dissertation. You see why there's certain things in that dissertation that we pointed out that was a complete failure. Shout out to Johnny Walker Dredd. Because he would have had to do it in his actual normal functions in his job. He couldn't even manage to get good data for a dissertation. This is why I got your dissertation, Umar, because you're a moron. You see this? I don't profess to know it all, but my goodness. Promote positive behavior and mental health practices in resolving individual, group, and system level challenges in school behavior and mental health related areas. Assess student emotional and behavioral needs and design appropriate supports. Provide individual and group counseling as a related service as needed to address students' needs, not diagnose them. Y'all don't see the word diagnose in here, do you? Anywhere y'all see the word diagnose, let me know. Let me know if you see the word diagnose. I want to make sure I have it all right here, starting from top to bottom. Anywhere in this, from the first point to the last point, do you all see diagnose? Nope. Put a 1 in the chat if you see the word diagnose. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Let's get some engagement going. 54 people watching. Make sure y'all hit the like button to shake the bushes out. 1 in the chat if you see the word diagnose. 2 in the chat if you do not see the word diagnose. Because he thinks he can do that. 1 in the chat, do you see the word? 2 in the chat if you don't. Misunderstood, put a 3. 3 means, Lady Luck, why the hell you asking me that dumbass question? Y'all know me so well. Misunderstood and Manny know me so well. 3, Lady Luck Club, why the hell you asking us this question? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for why the hell you asking us that dumbass question? You can't make this up if you wanted to. Shake them bushes. I need to see more numbers in this chat. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for why the hell you asking us this question, Lady Luck? Of course, we don't see the word diagnose because you can't make this stuff up. But Umar thinks that he could diagnose. He really thinks that he could give a test and diagnose someone. No. 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 He can give an assessment. He cannot diagnose. So, again, respondent having failed to prove that he is employed by a school and thereby permitted to practice privately, the terms of ECS 1875 are totally inapplicable to his case. But even if he had borne his burden of proof, there is nothing in those terms that would permit him to help an adult solve his current everyday problems, as respondent has held himself out to do, Exhibit C7, minute 130. See, the problem is he didn't just say that he could do this for kids. He said this for adults as well. And particularly for women, because he's a disgusting, depraved pig. That's where the line was drawn in the sand. So even if you could produce a contract or proof of employment with an MCS charter school or MCS school, you're still limited to this certified school psychologist job title and the job functions to kids in that school that would be of appropriate age for that school, not adults, just kids, not adults. So you still cannot do this for adults. What the hell are you talking about on your radio show and over there with the Breakfast Club? The certified school psychologist exception in the Psychology Act does not provide an exception for a certified school psychologist to use the regulated terms to describe his private practice. Section 3 of the Act prohibits unlicensed persons from two separate activities. One, practicing psychology, as that term is defined in Section 1 of the Act. So he can't practice psychology whatsoever. Two, holding himself out to the public by any title or description of services incorporating the regulated terms, such as certified psychologist. Lord have mercy. He cannot say he's a certified psychologist at all. At all. Not even a little bit. He can say, I have a psychology degree. He cannot say he's a psychologist or a certified psychologist at all. Just want to make sure we're clear. Cannot practice, and he cannot hold himself out to the public by any title or description of services incorporating the regulated terms. 63 PS Statute 1203. And if you put this in search, if you look up 63 PS Statute 1203 of the Psychology Act, it will tell you exactly what those regulated terms are. The distinction between these two prohibitions is critical in this case because the school psychologist exception that respondent claims for himself applies only to the practice of psychology and not to the holding forth. The Commonwealth respectfully submits that the PAO erred in treating the holding forth as being subsumed in the exception for practice under the Act. In its definition in Section 2, the Act does not define the term practice of psychology as including the use of the regulated terms. Rather, the regulated terms are addressed separately in Section 3. Therefore, the ability to practice psychology under an exception to the licensure requirements of Section 2 does not necessarily include the ability to use the regulated terms. Exactly. You can't say that you have the ability to practice psychology based on you stating that you have some sort of licensure or certification either, when you don't have a license or certification to practice psychology. The exception would be certified school psychologist if you are employed or contracted with the school. Does it make sense? Are we all on agreement? Because he's sitting here still saying this to this very day, that he is a certified psychologist. And that is a lie from the pit of hell. I can't believe it. He's still doing it because he's a narcissist. God. All right. A plain reading of 3 school psychologist exceptions discussed in part 3 above reveals that all of them apply only to the practice of psychology, and none of them affect the prohibition against a school psychologist holding himself out by use of the regulated terms to describe his private practice. While it was enforced, Section 310 on its face applied only to a psychologist performing acts, not to describing himself or his practice, and Section 310.1 did not substantively alter that application. Thus, it is clear that neither paragraph 10 or 10.1 of Section 3 ever acted to allow an unlicensed person to use the regulated terms to describe his private practice. He can't say that he can practice psychology, that he's a psychologist, that he's certified or licensed, and he's not licensed or even certified, period. He can't say he has a private practice when he's not licensed or certified, period. He just can't at all, period. And because he doesn't have a job with a school, he can't even say that he's a certified school psychologist because he's not employed with a school or contracted with a school right now. Being listed as an executive director on those tax forms, Umar, does not mean that you're employed. You're not even earning, you're not even putting down if you're earning income. And the schools are not operating. They're not operable. And we're not talking about the state of Pennsylvania here. You're talking about the state of Delaware. So you would have to actually have schools up and running to even qualify for any exception when it comes to this certified school psychology bit. Their laws wouldn't be too different when it comes to that. But you still need an operating school and be employed or contracted with that school. You don't even have a school open. You can't sit here talking about you're a certified school psychologist, anything. So he can't say it at all, bottom line. And I dare Umar to look up the laws in Delaware and try to prove me wrong on that one. Please do. I welcome it. Because I'm gonna tear his ass up in a video, and I promise you, I won't be nice, not even a little bit. Section 3.4 accepts use of an official title on the part of those persons certified and employed as school psychologists, like paragraphs 10 and 10.1 of Section 3, is noteworthy for what it does not accept. Namely, it does not accept use of the word psychological, psychologist, or psychology. It accepts use of an official title. Thus, it does not create an exception for a school psychologist to use the regulated terms as he sees fit, because he can't. Rather, it creates an exception to allow him to use, without running afoul of the act, whatever official title his employer might give his position. So if his position is educational specialist 2 counselor, then he can say, as a part of his title, this is what my job title is. And with this title, part of my duties include giving assessments, giving counseling based on my certificate as a school psychologist. He can't just say, I'm a certified school psychologist, and it's not a part of his title or a part of his duties, or he's not even employed with the schools, or he's not contracted with a school. So to the extent of what his job title is, if he were employed, it's all that he could do with that. Just give your job title. But see, Umar is a narcissist who wants to paint himself to be more important than he truly is. Because in the grand scheme of things, he's an unemployed 51-year-old deadbeat father who doesn't take care of his kids at all, one of which the court has given him only supervised visitation, and he dogs women out and black people out, and it's nobodies that he actually deep down loves and enjoys. So this is the person we're talking about here. He wants to hold on to whatever little fame or notoriety he thinks he has. But he doesn't care about the perception that he's given to the public with regards to his education, whatever little training he thinks he's got, and what he is permitted to do when it comes to having a degree in psychology. Putting that education to use, in other words. I'm not going to call him a doctor because he's not a doctor. Not in my book. He's not licensed or certified. He's not a doctor. He can kick rocks. Umar, you're a clown. In this case, since he has produced no contract and did not testify to identify an official title for a school psychologist employed at the MCS charter school, Respondent did not carry his burden of proving that this exception applies to him. Basically, he failed. Then he went to this hearing, he lied, and he still couldn't prove how he's a certified school psychologist. Not even a little bit. Respondent's testimony as to his relationship with MCS Charter School was not credible because he was not a credible witness. Umar lies like hell. I mean, it's pretty much like, of course, he's not ever going to be credible. Now, you put his ass under oath with the IRS or the FBI. Let's see how he does with that. The PAO took respondent at his word regarding the alleged existence of an employment contract between MCS Charter School and him. For several reasons, respondent's word alone is not entitled to great weight. The PAO finds that respondent does not practice privately conducting non-school related clinical evaluations. Finding of fact 11. For several reasons, this finding is not supported by the credible evidence. The PAO basically lied, saying that it was evidence to support, that he performed, these functions as a part of his job when he failed to produce proof that he worked or was contracted with the school or that he had a job. First, at minute 205 of Exhibit C6, respondent unequivocally states that he is a school psychologist with a private practice located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So he violated like at least two parts of that Psychology Act by itself. He said he was a school psychologist and that he had a private practice. It's ridiculous. His meaning could not be more plain. In bold contrast, he testified at the hearing that although I am allowed to work privately doing the same exact school psychologist work I do in schools privately, I have never done so. Later, he emphatically repeated that although I have that right, although my work is done in a school building, there is no private work done. He didn't have the right. The overarching message is clear. For the public's purposes, respondent has a private practice. For the board's purposes, he does not. Such blatant equivocation seriously undermines his overall credibility as a witness because he said whatever he needed to say depending on who he's talking to. That's what they're getting at. When it comes to the public, he says one thing. When it comes to the board, he's saying something else. I say this to the public. I'm a school psychologist. I have a private practice. When he's questioned by a board, well, I have the right to say that, but I don't do that. What the fuck does that mean? And who is to take you at your word because you can't even prove employment? So you certainly can't prove that you're not doing that. That's the thing. No one has to believe anything he says. That's what it comes down to. Relatedly, at minute 1:15 on Exhibit C7, he tells his nationwide Breakfast Club audience, Breakfast Club, about what he does when someone comes to him for therapy. Again, he could hardly have admitted any more clearly that he has a private practice in which he does psychological therapy. He does not just suggest he is qualified to provide therapy. He declares that he provides it. He says it out loud for the world to hear. Even the ancestors that are probably dead and gone heard him say it. He does not just say he does therapy. He states exactly how he routinely conducts his intake sessions. He does not say when someone comes to me for educational problems, I collect their report cards. He does not say when someone brings their child to me who has been misdiagnosed with ADHD, I review their background testing. He says, when someone comes to me for therapy, I do a clinical history. That is not what he is supposed to do. Along with gauging their depression, assessing their suicidality, and otherwise performing his professional services in order to solve their current everyday problems. Something you would expect an actual licensed, certified psychologist to do. Something Umar is not. So for Exhibit C7, minute 1:15 to 1:30, these clear, specific admissions completely discredit his general denials at the hearing to the effect that he has never ever done anything in violation of the act. Yeah, he lied like hell. Y'all, he just lies like hell because lying. Lie, just a lie. Finally, at the hearing, respondent was asked to read Exhibit C9, the October 4th, 2017 letter from senior prosecutor in charge Kenneth Suter to him, specifically asking him to produce detailed evidence of his employment as a school psychologist. The letter indicated that the Commonwealth would be willing to withdraw the OSC if respondent produced appropriate evidence. They were willing to drop the entire complaint if you would have produced the appropriate evidence. It's that simple. This is how dumb Umar is. So, of course, he couldn't do it. The respondent read the entire letter aloud and agreed that he had received it. But as Attorney Suter testified, respondent did not respond to it at any time in any way, just as he had refused to respond to numerous other reasonable requests for information throughout the investigation because he thinks he's above the law. At that point in the hearing, respondent then denied that he had ever received the letter. So he denied that he had ever received the letter. He had just moments earlier admitted to receiving and read aloud. Y'all see this? He read the entire letter aloud and agreed that he had received it. Then he turns around and says that he denied that he had ever received the letter, that he had just moments earlier admitted to receiving. If he were under oath, testifying before a grand jury after being indicted by the FBI on criminal charges, he would go to prison just for perjury alone, for pissing everybody off. Umar, you heard the worst. Oh, you're such a big idiot. Oh, man, you can't make this up. He denied having received the letter he had just read aloud and acknowledged having received. In the same hearing, this is epic. Oh, man, he tells stupid lies. His lies are dumb. It's so dumb. The Commonwealth submits that respondent's denial was false. The letter had been sent to the exact same Philadelphia post office box to which the OSC was sent and which is listed on respondent's resume, Exhibit R1. The letter did not simply request information. It offered to withdraw the OSC against the respondent, meaning offered to withdraw the complaint. If respondent truly had an employment relationship with the MCS charter school, he had every incentive to respond to that letter. Exactly. So if you were employed, you would have responded. Bottom line. As Mr. Suter testified, he did not respond, and his failure to respond under those circumstances is damning evidence that no such contract ever existed, meaning he could not prove he was ever contracted with the school. That's why he failed to respond. And they would have dropped the complaint had he did so. So he had every incentive to do it. Conclusion and recommendation. On page 12, the PAO rhetorically asks what respondent would have been expected to call himself if not a psychologist, and surmises, albeit without citation to the legislative history, that the legislator's intent in drafting the Psychology Act was not to prohibit everyone, but licenses to use the regulated terms. But as the Commonwealth attempted to explain in its closing argument, this case is not about an individual innocently using a regulated term on an occasion in contravention of a statute. This case is about ensuring that the regulated terms are not abused by unqualified individuals in ways that are harmful to the profession and the public. Because he's still saying it in 2025. Certified psychologist here, Umar. You're an idiot. You're still abusing it. The Psychology Act was drafted by the legislature to protect the public from unprofessional, improper, unauthorized, and unqualified practice of psychology, especially by an Oompa Loompa who fails to read a letter. You can't make this up. 63 PS Statute 1201. The legislature specified that the act was to be liberally construed to carry out these objects and purposes. The cardinal rule of all statutory interpretation is to ascertain and effectuate the intent of the General Assembly. And then they cite case law here, O'Rourke v. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Corrections. This is going to a 2001 case. To accomplish that goal, statutory language must be read in context so that every portion of statutory language is to be read in conjunction with the remaining statutory language and construed with reference to the entire statute as a whole. And then they cite case law here, Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board v. Office of Open Records, 2014 case, where the words of a statute are clear and free from ambiguity. The legislative intent is to be gleaned from those very words, and the plain language is not to be disregarded under the pretext of pursuing its spirit. So basically, the law itself, when it is clear and easily interpreted, it is to be interpreted as is written. Does that make sense? That's the first thing. You are to interpret the law as written. All right. Bottom line. They should have just, what's going on, Johnny Walker Dread? Zesty Third. Oh, that's funny. How you doing, Johnny Walker Dread? They should have just sent them Umar's advice to parents of suicidal children. Listen here. Umar needs to stay far away from kids or women or teenage girls. Probably little boys in dressed up suits too. He needs to stay far away from people. How you doing, man? It's been a minute. I'm sorry, I can see your I can't see y'all chats when I'm reading the document because I'm in a different screen. Y'all good? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Doing good. Make sure y'all hit that like button as well. Oh man, y'all, you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. I'm taking donations for the 2025 holiday season for my Laboo-boos. They need clothes and shoes. Blessed be. Okay, now. Me too. Add me to the list. Y'all buy some Dr. Squatch soap. All right, let's get back to it. So the law is to be, when plain and simple, to be interpreted as is written. If it's not meant to be ambiguous, if it's not difficult to understand, then as it is written, that's how you interpret it. And that's how it's to be enforced and upheld. And then they cite more case law here, Pennsylvania Financial Responsibility Assigned Claims Plan versus English. Going back to 1995. As discussed above, the plain language of the act does not permit a school psychologist to hold himself out by use of the regulated terms simply by virtue of obtaining a certification from the Department of Education. Exactly. Just because you got this certification from the Department of Education does not mean you get to say that you're a psychologist, you're practicing psychology, you have a private practice, or you're licensed or certified in psychology. Nope. You're talking about a totally different department as well. Department of Education is very limited as opposed to the Board of Psychology for the state. Not the same thing. It may permit him to conduct a private practice circumscribed by the terms of his employment. By terms of his employment. That is basically defined by the terms of his employment with a school. And it may permit him to use the title of his school position, but it does not permit him to use any of the regulated terms at will to describe his private practice. And if he does not have an employment relationship with a school, it does not permit him to have a private practice at all. Do y'all see that? Didn't I just say that earlier? I said that 16 pages ago. He can't say he has private practice at all. He can't even say he's hired at a school to actually do anything with a school. It does not permit him to have a private practice at all if he does not have an employment relationship with a school. Given the evidence in this case, respondent is not permitted to have a private practice at all. He didn't even want to prove he worked at a school. God. The PAO appears to treat respondents' use of the regulated terms in videos from his website as one-time occurrences. This is not accurate. It sure damn is not, because he's still saying it in 2025. It's almost like this is reading our future. His website's misleading advertisement of a private psychology practice has potential to reach extraordinary numbers of people. His YouTube channel has over 222,000 subscribers still on it. So yeah, it does. Respondents' leveraging of the regulated terms to legitimize his personal ideology has potential to reach extraordinary numbers of people as well. These things respondent knows, as his worldwide fame attests. Yeah, because he keeps talking about he's the most requested worldwide scholar, intellectual. It's your nephew, it's your brother, I'm your uncle, I'm your cousin, it's your brother. Like, shut up, bro. Shut up, Umar. You're nothing except unemployed. You're very unemployed. That's exactly what you are right now. You're unemployed and a deadbeat. All right. So knowing that he has all this so-called, public fame, and he calls himself a public figure, he has the ability to reach out to a broad audience. He could, easily have videos and content be viewed by, millions of people, especially if he goes over there on the Breakfast Club. So the board cannot permit him to perpetuate his deceit about his credentials on the public, whether within the Commonwealth or outside it. Y'all see that? Let me read this again. Y'all ready? The board cannot permit him to perpetuate his deceit about his credentials on the public, whether within the Commonwealth or outside it. So this is not limited to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Hence why I played this video where in the year of our Lord 2025, he's in a totally different state and he's still saying certified psychologist. So against this actual document here, he's still purporting himself to be a certified psychologist. And there's no expiration date on this. It's not, this is valid until laws are laws, Umar. And the Psychology Act still remains in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And it is the board that stated they cannot permit you to perpetuate your deceit about your dumb credentials that don't exist on the public, whether you are within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or outside of it, Umar. You Oompa Loompa. I told you, Umar, Lady Luck Club is not for play. Didn't I tell you I would get your ass? Didn't I tell you that? Umar, you're not that smart because you don't even read. So you are still saying this in 2025, regardless of whether you're inside of the boundaries of the border of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or outside of it. The board cannot permit you to perpetuate your lying ass deceit about your credentials that don't exist to the general public. In a video where 92,000 people have seen it so far in 5 days, please understand, when you get reported to the Board of Psychology for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you can say, thank you, Lady Luck Club. And I will say, you're welcome, you dumb Oompa Loompa. Oh, Lordy. Because reading is fundamental in the Lady Luck Club. And that's why we Lucksters read. You get tripped up with me because people fail to read. I told you all I would do it. Didn't I say that? I told you all we would get his ass. Whether he's inside of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or outside, the board cannot allow him to perpetuate his deceit about his credentials and still serve its statutory duty to protect the public as well as the reputation of the profession. So you all can still report his ass to the Board of Psychology, to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and send them this video clip with this picture here. It is timestamp 2:33. Oh man, this is priceless. You can send this to the Board of Psychology. Let me put the timestamp in here. Timestamp 2:33. Yep. Well, he's being introduced as a certified psychologist, failing to correct this bald-headed chicken over here because, he's trying to appease his ego. What you've done, Ash Cash, you violated a whole act where the Board of Psychology in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania already told his ass to kick rocks and go sit the hell down. They already told him once back in 2017, 2018. They're not going to tell him again. They're just going to keep finding his ass. Hopefully it leads to some point where he's violating this and then they can have him held in contempt. They can charge him even further. You can go to jail for stuff like this, Umar. You're an idiot. It's no different than people who walk around claiming to be doctors and they're not. They face criminal charges, It doesn't matter if you have a degree. You don't have a license. You don't have a certification. And it says it right here. The board cannot permit him to perpetuate his deceit about his credentials on the public, whether within the Commonwealth or outside it, and still serve its statutory duty to protect the public. That means the board is still going to protect the public. So when we start reporting your ass for still going out here on your Chitlin Circuit tour of podcasts, doing all these interviews, softball interviews where these grown ass men are kissing your butt for 2 to 3 hours at a time. Yeah, we're going to keep reporting you to the Board of Psychology in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania because you need to stop lying and telling people you are a certified psychologist or practicing psychology, or that you can do psychology work or do any analysis of psych. No, you can't do none of that shit. You can't even say that you're a certified school psychologist because you're not employed with the school, nor do you have a contract with the school, you dumb clown. Nope, you can't. Get a job, Umar. Ifatunde El Dummy Day. Get a job. Time for you to get to work. A regular job. Something you want to sit here and you can call us YouTube struggle streamers all you want. Ditto, you clown. Oh man. So yeah, y'all can report his ass. We're gonna pull that information up in a second. Hold on. All right. So they still have to serve his statutory duty to protect the public as well as the reputation of the profession. Because, a well-respected psychologist would not want someone like an Umar Ifatunde Edummy Day Johnson walking around here talking about he's a psychologist as well when he's not. For these reasons, the Commonwealth reiterates its recommendation for the imposition of a $10,000 civil penalty, Lord have mercy, and cost of $2,479.48 against the respondent, along with an order that he must cease and desist practicing psychology privately and advertising himself by use of the regulated terms. Do you all see that? You all see why you're going to be reporting his ass to the Board of Psychology for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Because he should not be doing it, whether he's inside of the Commonwealth or outside of it. So they reiterated their recommendation for the imposition of a $10,000 civil penalty. And cost of $2,479.48 against Umar's dumbass, along with an order that he must cease and desist practicing psychology privately and advertising himself by use of the regulated terms. He can't say that he's a certified psychologist, according to the law. The Commonwealth also recommends that the board's order should preclude respondent from ever obtaining a psychologist's license. Should he attempt to do so, respectfully submitted, John Kelly, prosecuting attorney, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of State. Hallelujah. And then here you see the certificate of service of the documents being submitted. And it was sent out to Umar Johnson to this P.O. Box 6872, Philly, Pennsylvania. The information is here. So, who do we report this to, Lady Luck Club? Let me get the information. Because he's still doing it. And Umar, I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't really care how you think or how you feel. At the end of the day, you're still trying to profit off of this nonsense. You're still hurting people in the public. And just because you can't handle the idea of getting a job or cleaning a toilet, you want everybody to kiss your butt. And they don't owe you that. They don't owe you anything. No one owes you anything. So I'm going to pull up this website. And here it is. Okay. So I'm just I just typed it in and put it up. State Board of Psychology. He cannot get a licensure. That's what this document is wanting an order on. Should he attempt to get it, that he be denied it. And God, we thank you. So here's the information. You guys can email. You can call. I'm trying to see exactly who to contact to report or file a complaint. Oh, here we go. File a complaint. And since he's not licensed or anything, you can do a complaint online where he's violating that Psychology Act. Is a statute here. You have to cite the statute, the state statute. Let me go back to it. 63 PS. Is it 12? No. Was it 63 PS 1201? I think so. Yep. 63 PS 1201. The regulated terms. Yeah, he's not allowed by state law. 63 PS. That is how they're citing their state statutes in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So his PS is Pennsylvania statute, and then the code 63, and then the statute number 1201. So that's how it's cited in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Each state cites their state codes and statute codes differently, but that's what it is. So he's violating it still by calling himself a certified psychologist. What the hell? So I'll put this. You guys can submit a claim here. I don't know if y'all can see this. You can click on this link, statement of complaint form, or on the department's PAL's website. Since he's not even licensed and he's still doing this nonsense. Or you can email I would just, put in there that he's not licensed, but he's not supposed to be utilizing those terms, and he's violating that state statute. Yeah. notice grifters act by so they can grift on both sides. Oh Lord. We need to raise $12,479.48 for new plumbing for the school. That's what he said. Job boo. He out here, raising money. He out here still calling himself a licensed, certified psychologist. He listen, Umar, ain't nobody got time for your nonsense. No one has time for your nonsense. You're a clown. You are a clown boy. So here it is, y'all. Y'all can go on this website and do an actual complaint. It's supposed to allow you to have a complaint here. This is under the MCare Act. File a complaint. So I'm just trying to get y'all to the actual link. There we go. I'm going to stick it in the chat, and then I'll put it in the description of the video once the chat has concluded. But as you all can see, this is what we are. This is what we are, man. Umar he's got to be stopped. Is he out here just, doing the most? It makes no sense. You should not be hearing stuff like this. We should not be hearing someone still describe him as a damn certified school psychologist. You can't make this stuff up. So we're going to hear this again, and then that's going to be the end of the stream, y'all. Y'all been so great. I appreciate all of you.
All right, so welcome to Inside the Vault, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. I'm excited about today's guest. We are sitting down with one of the most unapologetic black voices of our time, Dr. Umar Johnson, a doctor of clinical psychology and certified psychologist. Dr. Umar has dedicated his life to freeing.
Report his ass and do it quickly, okay? Because he gonna keep doing this. And I this is why I don't call him doctor. Umar, you don't deserve it. And when you have the entire board of psychology telling you to go kick rocks, I'm going to say the same thing. Kick rocks. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Shout out to Brother Malik for the $45 Cash App. Plus, Black Anonymous for the $1 super sticker. I appreciate all of you guys so much. And we will be back again tomorrow. I'm finally getting to the debate that the exchange that he had with Jamar. Okay, that's going to be a lot of fun, and we got those videos between him, saying some stuff about after he went on the Jamar's podcast. He went out and did a video, and then Jamar went back, and I want to see it. I have not seen it yet, so it's exciting. And make sure before I forget, make sure you guys check out Black Anonymous blogs. Here's the link to the blog. I'm so sorry, I almost forgot. Here is the link to Black Anonymous blog as well. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Can y'all hear me? No idea how to make sense of this. I'm getting something saying y'all can't hear me. I'm just want to make sure. Can y'all still hear me? Am I good? Make sure I'm still good. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. Just give me a confirmation if y'all can still hear me. Put a 1 in the chat because I'm getting something saying that you can't. You're good? Okay, cool. Thank you. And as always, you guys have been so gracious. Now, everybody tell Umar, the Monopoly man. Y'all tell Umar the Monopoly man to kick rocks. We're reporting his ass. And have a good night. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. Oh, thank you. I see the ones coming up. Finally, I see the ones coming up. Y'all tell Monopoly Umar to go on somewhere, sit his ass down. He getting reported. No one's in the mood to play with him anymore. This whole nonsense. You out here got people thinking you can do something with their kids and you can't. You're a moron, Umar. And you ain't learned your lesson, but you're going to learn it. It's going to be an expensive one at that. Because the civil penalty is still $10,000 per offense. So good luck to that. Have a butt plug, Umar. Manny said have a butt plug. Thank y'all so much. Y'all tune in tomorrow. We're gonna check out his back and forth squabble what he did with Jamar, where he was probably obliterated. But I want to check it out. We're gonna have fun with that. Y'all tell Umar good night. Monopoly Man good night. And I will see you all in the next one. And until then, Lady Luck Club out. Deuces.